Good morning, guys. What's up? MurderofBirds here, and I just got home from work. I'm semi exhausted, semi tired right now, but I decided I wanted to bring you guys my RWBY Volume 2 Episode 10 review because it was a very built-up, worthy episode for what's going to come in Episode 11. But before I get into the review, I just have two announcements that I want you guys to know about for any of you guys who are looking forward to any of my reviews in the future, and a little extra tidbit of information. So first and foremost, last night I did my first live reaction for the first RWBY episode that I brought into my channel with a live reaction, which was episode 10. Last night I watched it. I did a live reaction, and it was somewhat very well received. I have about 500 views, 21 likes, and I wasn't really expecting that kind of response just because of the fact that it was the first live reaction that I've done for the series, and it's already really late into the game. We only have 2 canon episodes and a World of Remnant segment, and then Volume 2 will be coming to a close. But it was very well received. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be bringing these live reactions for the rest of the series. So if next week for the World of Remnant, I will be doing a live reaction for that. I will be doing a live reaction for the canon episode 11 and the finale of episode 12 for any of you guys who are looking forward to that, so you guys can get my what the hell hype moments. But that's the one thing that I want to mention. So if any of you guys want to check that out, I will leave a link in the description to my live reaction for episode 10. It was very dialogue-centric around Team RWBY, pertaining to Weiss, Blake, and Yang and their whole finding the convictions of being huntresses. And then towards the end was was really getting good with RWBY and the White Fang, and then freaking Dr. Oobleck's weapon at the end. I was so freaking hyped. So that's the first thing. And secondly, and I guess this is kind of a little bit of a perk to any of you guys out there who have sponsorship memberships on Rooster Teeth. Next week, I'm going to be, tomorrow, I'm going to be buying a sponsorship for Rooster Teeth. So that way, not just for the fact of RWBY, but for the, obviously Rooster Teeth content, the podcasts and stuff like that. I like to watch them versus listening to them when they come out weekly or whenever they come out. So I'm going to have a Rooster Teeth sponsorship next week, and what that means basically is RWBY comes out. I live on the East Coast, so RWBY comes out at 8 p.m. Where I live, and I work overnight shifts at 10 p.m. and I usually leave my house around 9:30, 9:20, 9:30 to go to work. So basically, I'm going to be getting this sponsorship for RWBY in particular because I want to have a little bit more leeway when it comes to being able to review RWBY, watch the episode, get my take on it. Because how I do my reviews for RWBY is about 12 minutes long. So I have RWBY comes out at 8 o'clock. So about 8:05, 8:10 is when I usually watch it, and I have about 15 minutes to watch the episode and get the initial gist of the episode, the story progression, the plot progression, any new concepts or information that we get. And that's usually what I do. I watch the first 15 minutes, the first initial watch of RWBY. And then when it comes to my review, I like to go back and rewatch and just dig deep and nitpick and grab any little bits of details or information linking to anything that can be foreshadowed or anything that can be referenced to past information. And I apply that in my reviews to where they can be a lot more concise and a lot more have a lot more depth and description to it. So, and like you guys know, I think all of my RWBY reviews have been about 12 to 15 minutes long. So in the entirety of my RWBY process of watching the episode, rewatching it, gathering information for my review, and then putting out my review, it takes about an hour and a half, an hour to an hour and 10, 15 minutes. And that's not really a lot of great time for me to have because I don't like to be someone who's on a crunch for time. So that's basically why I'm going to be getting my sponsorship. So next week when World of Remnant comes out and then episode 11 and episode 12, the finale, I'm going to be able to review RWBY and bring my reviews to my channel at 5 p.m. So I'll have 3 hours. I'll be 3 hours ahead of any of you guys out there who don't have who watch it like on Crunchyroll or wait for it to go public on the Rooster Teeth website. So for any of you guys who are looking forward to it, the review will be out before you even watch it, unless you have sponsorships, of course, to which I will just say stay away from YouTube, stay away from my channel until you at least watch the episode. But without further ado, RWBY Volume 2 Episode 10 was fucking hype. Excuse my French, okay? We were left on the most pinnacle of cliffhangers. Oobleck's weapon is semi-revealed as his coffee thermos. And I did my live reaction, and when his coffee thermos transformed, oh my God, I'm like about to fanboy right now. When his coffee thermos transformed, I was like beside myself. I was like, oh my God, like, what, are you serious? And the whole concept of in the RWBY community, or at least to me, was that, coffee, there had to have been some form or way that coffee was iterated either into his semblance or to a form of his weapon, of why he's so high strung, why he's always caffeinated, why he's always like, has so much energy and is eccentric all the time. And he always carries his coffee thermos around, and it's like, why does he always bring that around? I understand you like coffee, and then it's like he also needs his coffee, and that's also his weapon. So right off the cut, I was like, that's so freaking sick. And then also the buildup of a potential battle for episode 11 of the White Fang and Torchwick versus Team RWBY and Professor Oobleck, and or Dr. Oobleck, I should say. He didn't get that PhD for nothing, but I'm so freaking hyped. I'm so freaking hyped. And somebody in my comments of my live reaction told me that they got a snippet of episode 11, and he didn't spoil anything for me, so I'm very glad that you didn't spoil anything for me, but he said Dr. Oobleck's weapon is hella awesome. And Montium also hyped Dr. Oobleck's weapon in the director's commentary for Volume 1 on the Blu-ray. So I'm hyped. We don't know what it looks like fully because we didn't get the full 3D, the full scope of the weapon, but it is hand, like, he has it in hand. So I'm just wondering what it looks like and how it functions. Is it a gun also, or does it shoot out coffee instead of bullets? But yeah, so the hype of the episode is going to be at episode 11. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wait a week because next week we are getting a World of Remnant segment, but I will talk to that about that in a second. From there, we get to Team RWBY, which Team RWBY, as last episode, RWBY, Blake, Weiss, and Yang got development on an individual basis of why each one of them wanted to be a huntress, etc. This episode was based more on the development of the team as a whole, in the sense of they've pretty much come to terms with why they are why they initially want to be huntresses, and the fact that they have to put their needs and desires second, and they have to handle the task at hand, which is, you signed up for this job. Your job is first and foremost to protect the citizens and protect the world as huntsmen and huntresses. And I really love how Oobleck drove the point home without, throwing it in their face of, no, this is why you have to be, like, not telling them, oh, that's not why you're supposed to be a huntsman huntress. Like, he just pretty much like nudged them a little bit with questioning their motives of why they want to be a huntress, and that essentially in turn is what led them to their internal conflicts of talking amongst one another of, hey, this is why I'm a huntress, this is why I want to be a huntress. It's not all fairy tales and wanting to aspire our dreams. First and foremost, it's a job and it's a duty that you have to live up and uphold. And I really love how Oobleck really, like, it's phenomenal how he drove the point home with something as simple as questioning their motives and then letting them do all the work for him. And he caught wind of that at the in the episode, and he gave that smile. I thought that was really awesome. But, Weiss wants to change the Schnee Dust Company in the way that her father's running it, which her father, obviously, at this point, he's, the Schnee Dust Company makes everything. And it's obvious that her father isn't, the greatest leader when it comes to that. And obviously, his attitude and stuff like that with the Schnee Dust Company and the faunus and all that stuff. Obviously, Weiss wants to change the Schnee Dust Company for the future, and she doesn't want it to end with her father. Yang is a thrill seeker. She's looking for adventure and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, she even makes a reference that, being a huntress, she can be able to put aside, the thrill seeking and all that to help the people. And it's a win-win for her at the end of the day. And Blake, I would want to say Blake's was the most deepest in terms of dialogue for me. Multiple levels. One, because we got little snippets of Adam, and the fact that she wants to essentially change the hate of the White Fang, and the fact of everything that she's done over these years with transitioning from a White Fang member to a huntress and wanting to change her past and change the ways of her people, which is phenomenal in of itself. RWBY as well. RWBY is very innocent. RWBY's motives are clear as day. She wants to be a huntress. She wants to save people. She wants to be the hero, like she said in Volume 1, she wants to be like the heroes in the books. And in a sense, I do also feel like she wants to be like her mother, Summer, because obviously if Summer Rose died when RWBY was a child, RWBY probably has faint memories of her mother, and wants to know what it's like. Hey, I wonder what my mother was like. I want to be as close as I can to her. What better way to, establish a somewhat of a spiritual connection in a sense than, live the life that she live the life that she lived. So phenomenal development for Team RWBY, but there's something that I want to talk about real quick, and this is semi-relevant to the episode. I mentioned Blake and how she had such dialogue depth this episode, and it's so scary how, for what I'm pretty much thinking right now. So I'm a part of a RWBY group on Facebook, and a lot of people post a lot of thoughts and theories and ideas and analytical posts about this series and all this other stuff. And one person in particular made a post regarding semblances and how the semblances of the characters thus far that have been introduced, have revealed their semblances, coexist with the persona of that person. And when Blake mentioned her semblance, this literally, it was crazy. And I don't remember who the person was. I would give credit to you. You know who you are if you end up watching this. This is not credit from me. This is credit to someone who posted this on the Facebook page, the RWBY Facebook group. This is based on the semblances. So I'm just going to go down these, Pyrrha and members of Team RWBY for their semblances and how their semblances coexist with the persona and, the overall character. So Pyrrha desires to draw people close to her. She wants intimacy when she is hurt. Her semblance is the attracting force of polarity. That right there says a lot. Pyrrha's, obviously, her semblance is polarity, the, magnetizing and, the force of attraction. And that in of itself speaks a lot of words, and it speaks volumes for Pyrrha's character. She's been isolated her whole life. She's been put on a pedestal by people who assume that she's, destined for greatness and she's above everybody else, to where she's not able to make any close relationships with people until she met Jean. That in of itself is phenomenal. All right. Weiss is a stickler for posture, schedule, and rules. She hides behind discipline when threatened. Her semblance is a strict and controlling glyph. We already know Weiss. She was a bitch in Volume 1, meeting RWBY and meeting everybody else of the series. She just stuck behind, rules and regulations and high society and, stuck behind her, the ways of royalty and all that stuff. So I kind of understand that as well. And that really says a lot about her character, of her glyphs. Okay, now I'm about to read Blake's, all right? Listen to this. Okay, this was posted October 4th. Like I said, I don't really remember who it was, but you will have the analytical perception of a god, because it's kind of like you had insight of what was going to happen this episode. All right, so Blake says, Blake hides her true self behind a bow. She finds safety in a falsity shielding her. Her semblance is the deceptive afterimage that accepts the attacks meant for her. That's literally paraphrasing of her dialogue this episode, of saying how, she hides behind her bow so she doesn't come to any conflicts of being a faunus. And when she was revealed as a faunus in Volume 1, she ran away. When Adam went batshit crazy with whatever it is that he's up to right now, she ran away. And even her semblance, her afterimage, her shadow clone semblance, it's meant for her to get away from dangerous situations. And that it's just crazy how this person was able to analyze and perceive. And literally, because of this post, from this point on, no matter who gets a semblance, whether it's Jean, even Jean right now, like Jean's still trying to discover a semblance. And right now I'm trying to discover what makes Jean Jean, what is the persona of Jean, and how can I foresee his semblance before it happens? You know what I mean? I'm trying to be more analytical and perceptive with every review. And then when I see things like this, I try to apply it in my ways of logic and thinking and perceiving of the series and things that can happen. So, like I said, for Jean or Team Coffee or even the creature, anybody else of the series who's going to reveal a semblance, I'm going to be able to now perceive their semblances and how that coincides with their persona. Yang is an unstoppable and stubborn force. She keeps moving in spite of the world trying to hold her back and desires to protect those she loves with all of her might. Her semblance is the ability to turn her pain into strength. Episode 4, Yang's a Super Saiyan. What can I say? And RWBY's, which was probably the most unique out of all of them. RWBY is a girl on a different frequency from most people. She attempts to diffuse bad situations as quickly as possible, and her response to a threat she thinks she cannot handle is to flee and avoid it until it goes away. Her semblance is the speed to strike first and dodge those attacks that would end her life. Crazy, phenomenal stuff. Like I said, I am applying this to everything that I see now when it comes to semblances, and I can't wait for Jean to get his, because this is the mindset that I'm going to go into when Jean gets his semblance to persona. Moving on from there. Ruby's a badass, okay? Ruby got captured by, she's scouting. Zwei went to go take a piss, and I thought that entire scene was funny when she was like tailing the White Fang, and she was making those little, those little over dramatic, sneaky moves and stuff, and she tailed the White Fang, and the White Fang caught her. She's a badass for the fact that she was without her scythe, and she was willing to go, fisticuffs with this dude. Obviously, she's 15 years old. These guys are like grown men. Knocked her down, knocked her out, brought her to Torchwick. And from there, Dr. Oobleck decides to take our asses to school. Dr. Oobleck, I love the way I love his character. I love him so much more now because of the fact of his fleshing out of his character and the fact that he's so informative of history and the architecture of Mountain Glen and, everything about this episode. We pretty much get an architectural breakdown of Mountain Glen, not just by the fact that it was an expansion of Vale. We got to essentially learn a little bit more about the past of what it initially was and what it was rising up to be and its inevitable downfall. That Mountain Glen essentially had its own, system. It had a unique form of transport, which was a subway system. The southeast quadrant of Vale is known for its wild forest, and it's known for its subway systems and its deep caves. So Mountain Glen was able to establish a form of transport to and from Vale through the underground metro systems, which is pretty cool in of itself. And then we find out that the Grimm pretty much overran the surface to where they had to blow out the metro systems and create these villages underground, which is obviously where the base of operations for the White Fang is right now. Now, amongst that, we learned that there were no natural barriers, which is referenced in the World of Remnant segment for kingdoms, which this is reason why I love the World of Remnant segment. You get so much world building to where a 2-minute episode just flushes out, this entirety of what Mountain Glen was and how Dr. Oobleck mentioned it, because it's like that 2 minutes was able, if we didn't get that World of Remnant, we'd be like, what the hell? How the hell is all this stuff happening? We're getting all this information too soon, but the World of Remnant, 2 minutes, you can apply that 2 minutes into anything that they elaborate on later on in the future, which is why I freaking love them. And I will get to World of Remnant segments in a second. So we learned that, the people were pretty much overrun by the Grimm underground, and essentially they all ended up dying because they pretty much had no way of escaping. Now, amongst that, before I go any further, I want to give a personal shout out to 2 subscribers, to 2 commenters, to 2 RWBY viewers of mine, Kaiser Opium and Stefan or Steven Fortson. I'm sorry if I got your first name wrong. Those are their YouTube usernames, okay? For the past 3 weeks, I have been stressing the fact that for the next World of Remnant segment, I want a Creatures of Grimm segment. I am here to tell you that I am 99.9% sure that next week we will be getting a Creatures of Grimm segment. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, where's your sources? 99.9%? How do you know that? You talking to Monty? Nah, but seriously, all the context clues are there to where I am fully confident and I have faith that if it's not this episode, if it's not this World of Remnant, it's going to be included in the 4th exclusive World of Remnant that comes with the Blu-ray and DVD, which I will also be reviewing for my channel, whether or not you guys get it, okay? The reason why I say that is because look at the series so far, all right? And I'm stressing this because I've mentioned this 3 weeks in a row already. We have 6 different Grimm. We have King Taijutsu, which is a snake. The Boar Batusk, which is a pig/boar. We have the Ursa, which is a bear. Beowulfs, which are wolves. Nevermore, which is a raven, and the Deathstalker, which is a scorpion. Okay, they're known. Volume 1. Okay, last episode we got introduced to a new Creature of Grimm. the Goliath, which is an elephant. So we have 7 different creatures of Grimm, okay, as of right now. Why I say that next week's going to be Creatures of Grimm is because this episode, Dr. Oobleck referenced to a new species, in a sense, or a new subgenre of Grimm. When he mentioned that Mountain Glen was overrun and destroyed from the underground, he said it was destroyed by subterranean Grimm. Now, to classify subterranean would mean that these Grimm specifically live underground. They don't live above ground like the Ursa or the Beowulfs. To say subterranean would mean that these Grimm inhabit underground caves and underground, dwellings. So that right there says a few things. There are going to be new Grimm that are specifically living underground, to where I feel that during the scuffle between Team RWBY, Oobleck, the White Fang, and Torchwick, I feel like these Grimm are going to come into play. Obviously showcased in episode 11, but referenced to or shown in of itself in the Creatures of Grimm Remnant, World of Remnant segment. Now, when you think subterranean life forms, for me, at least, I would think maybe along the lines of giant spiders, bats, at least, because bats, granted, they don't live underground, they are cave dwellers, and, giant moles, or, like, not naked mole rats, but, like, obviously, like, moles with the claws and stuff like that. Those are 3 creatures that I could see potentially being adapted into Grimm. So I have high faith. Oh my goodness. Like, you guys, I'm doing a live reaction next week. Okay. I'm doing a live reaction next week. And I swear to God, you guys are going to see me fanboy like you've never seen anyone fanboy in their entire life if next week is Creatures of Grimm. Like, I'm literally going to jump out my window. Like, but anyways, the episode was premium. The episode was boss. It was legit. A lot of buildup, a lot of hype going into the next episode, which we have to wait 2 weeks for. But like I said, Creatures of Grimm, we might see some new ones. Other than the Creatures of Grimm, I'm literally left out of the loop of what they could potentially show us for the next World of Remnant segment. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about my review. What did you guys take from it? What did you guys like about the episode? What you're looking forward to? What do you think the next World of Remnant segment's going to be? Do you think Oobleck's going to go ham and cheese sandwich? Let me know all that in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already as well. And thank you guys for checking out this video. I am tired as a mug. I'm about to go to bed. But thanks for checking out my video, and I will catch you guys next week. Take care.